For decades, it was just there. A cornerstone of the high street. You know, the red roof, the pan pizza, that iconic salad bar. It was the backdrop for so many of our family dinners and birthday parties. And then it felt like almost overnight, it was gone. We're talking about the absolutely stunning collapse of Pizza Hut in the UK.
But here's the thing. This isn't just a story about one company hitting a patch of bad luck. No. Pizza Hut's downfall is really a masterclass in the immense pressures that are facing our favorite restaurants right now. So let's unpack the story behind those headlines. A story of rising costs, brutal competition, and a controversy nobody saw coming.
To really get what happened to Pizza Hut, we first have to zoom out and look at the entire restaurant world in 2025. You see, the market was splitting right down the middle, and there's one word that sums up this whole phenomenon perfectly.
Bifurcation. It's a fancy word, but what it means is pretty simple. It's when high-income customers, well, they keep spending, maybe even more than before. But low-income customers have to pull back, and they pull back hard. This creates this giant canyon in the market, and there's almost no room for any business trying to live in the middle.
And you can see the results of that right here. I mean, it's so clear. On one side, you've got brands that offered really strong value or a unique experience. Think Chili's, Taco Bell. They absolutely thrived. But on the other side, well, established names like Pizza Hut, Hooters, and even Sweetgreen got completely trapped in that shrinking middle ground, and they were just struggling to survive. And that brings us right to the main event. In October 2025, all that pressure on Pizza Hut's UK dine-in business, it just became unbearable. The company running its restaurants, a group called DC London Pie Limited, collapsed into administration.
The scale of this failure was just staggering. 68 of those iconic red-roofed restaurants shut their doors for good. For a lot of people, it felt like it happened overnight, leaving customers and entire communities in shock.
And the damage wasn't just limited to the restaurants you could sit in. Nope, 11 delivery hubs were also shut down as part of this catastrophic failure.
But the real human cost? Wow. Over 1,200 workers suddenly faced losing their jobs. It was just a brutal, brutal blow. So you have to ask, how on earth did it come to this?
Well, the thing is, the collapse wasn't triggered by just one single thing. It was what you'd call a perfect storm of financial pressures that slammed into the business all at once, from pretty much every direction.
Okay, first, the whole economic environment just became incredibly hostile. It was like a 1-2-3 punch from the government. The national living wage went up, employer payroll taxes went up, and then that crucial business tax relief that so many companies relied on, it was slashed from 75% all the way down to just 40%. For a business with a lot of staff like Pizza Hut, this was a massive financial squeeze.
Now, at the exact same time, the franchisee actually running Pizza Hut's UK restaurants was in some deep, deep trouble. And get this, it's pretty incredible. In the 9 months leading up to the collapse, it moved £4.8 million out of the struggling UK business to prop up other parts of its international group. That just poured gasoline on the cash flow crisis here at home.
So for those 1,210 employees who lost their jobs, there was no safety net from the company. Their only option was the government's redundancy payment service, where any payments for things like notice or holiday pay were capped at these really basic statutory levels.
But this intense economic pressure, that was only one part of the story. While Pizza Hut was literally fighting for its financial life, it was also fighting a war on a completely different front: brand perception and, you guessed it, global politics.
It's wild how this all started. It began with the actions of a single independent franchisee in Israel who posted images of free meals being given to soldiers. But in our hyper-connected world, that one local act just exploded. It spiraled into a global boycott movement that had a direct impact on sales everywhere from the Middle East to Malaysia. And reporting from sources like Turkey's Ilke Haber Ajansa framed the UK closures not just as a business story, but as a direct result of that boycott. They saw it as proof of a real shift in consumer ethics, a sign that shoppers were now voting with their wallets based on a company's perceived political stance. So beyond the immediate financial crisis and the political firestorm, Pizza Hut was also facing this deeper, much longer-term problem. It was completely losing its identity in a market that had just changed around it. I mean, think about it. For decades, Pizza Hut owned that family dining space. But while it was sticking to its familiar formula, the pan pizzas, the salad bar, the pizza market itself got way more sophisticated. The new competition was all about artisanal pizzas and Instagrammable experiences, and it just left the old legacy brand feeling dated and, frankly, a bit out of touch. And boy, were the numbers telling that story. It was brutal.
8 straight quarters of declining sales in the US. It was contributing only a tiny fraction of its parent company's profit. I mean, even its own CEO had to admit it had a weak value message. It was consistently the weakest link in the whole Yum brand's portfolio.
But the story doesn't actually end with the collapse. In a defensive move, the parent company, Yum Brands, swooped in to buy 64 of the best-performing UK sites. But then, just weeks later, in November 2025, they launched a formal review of the entire global Pizza Hut brand. And what that really means is that everything is now on the table. Yum could sell the brand entirely, maybe spin it off into a new company, or just pivot completely away from that dine-in model that once defined it. The Pizza Hut we all grew up with is likely gone for good.
Ultimately, when you boil it all down, what the fall of Pizza Hut really shows us is the death of the middle ground in the restaurant world. That classic, mid-market family restaurant is just being squeezed out, crushed between premium, experience-led dining on one side and fast, cheap, value-driven options on the other. And that leaves us with a final and pretty unsettling question. As that comfortable middle ground keeps disappearing from our high streets, you really have to wonder, which beloved brand that we all grew up with will be the next one to face the perfect storm?